What's up, everybody? Thanks so much for joining us, and welcome back to Ask Sloan. I'm Sloan.
I'm Ben.
What are we talking about today, Ben?
Well, man, there's a lot on my mind. I know that you always have a lot on your mind, so I just figured I'd ask you some of the questions that I've been waiting for.
Shoot.
So, I know that the last time that we talked, we were talking a bit about, becoming an entrepreneur and when is the best time to pivot, right? And so I kind of wanted to start with that and start with, when you're approaching failure in life and, should you welcome it, or is that something that, you should kind of take into consideration when it comes to pivoting and starting something new?
So, again, great question, right? There are moments in life where we're faced with a critical point to either stop, keep going, or pivot, right? And I try to break it down into real simple steps because we overcomplicate it, analysis paralysis, all that in a bag of chips. Like, no, okay? Like, I got 3 options. Like, I'm all about the options, right? Option number 1, give up. That is never my option, so I take it off the table every single time. So we only got 2 options now, which is great, okay? They taught us in school, cancel out all the wrong answers first, right? So 2 options, keep going or pivot, okay? And so I really bring faith into that, okay? Because I'll be honest with you, I've kept going when I should have not kept going before, right? And guess what? Sometimes you're going to do that. And you know what? That's okay. That failure is an important process of learning success, okay? There is an inflection point. There is a moment where you realize I don't have enough to keep going, okay? And let me give you one from my life, right? We talked about the online television company that I developed, okay? And I went to California, and I was supposed to be there for a month. And my wife had just, we had a 6-month-old as our 3rd daughter, okay? So we had a 3, a 1, and a 6-month-old, okay? And my wife's like, you're going to be gone a month. She's like, what if it's longer than a month? And I was like, there's no way it'll be longer than a month.
He said, I lied.
It was a year and a half later before I came home, okay?
Jeez.
Now, I came home in that period of time, like every 3 to 6 weeks for like a weekend. And it was like always like, hey, we're almost there. We're almost there. We're almost there. And after a year and a half, I recognized that I did not have the tools and resources to finish it. And my family needed me. And so I went home. Now, did I stop? I did not stop. But the business wasn't earning me any money at that point. And my kids got to eat. You know what I mean? So I I didn't have the luxury of continuing. I was just holding on because I felt like at any moment oil could strike, right? But again, that inflection point, hey, and I mean, honestly, I just prayed about it. And I was like, Lord, if you're not going to bless this, I need to go home. And I was on a first-class flight 3 days later.
Wow.
And I had no money. So how did I get on a first-class flight? Okay, like that was like how I knew like I made
like
the
if
right
I'm going
decision,
home,
right?
gotta go
like,
home in style.
Yeah, no, for sure. Now let's talk about another story, right? Like when to pivot. Okay, so one of my best friends had a powder coating company.
Yeah.
He was struggling. He was making $100,000 a year, which means he was making nothing. And he had an investor that helped him get some property, and he was going to build this new building. And that's a whole story in itself. I'm going to fast forward us through. We got the building up. We moved in. 1 year in, we're at $250,000 in revenue. So we're doing better. Great. And then all of a sudden, the oil industry tanked. Well, that was like 70% of our clients. So powder coating was done.
So for the people that don't know much about entrepreneurship, you said 100,000 is not a lot.
You're not making anything. So
and why is that?
So you were going to tangent for a minute. We'll come back to the pivot in just a second. But the national average of net margin is 6%.
Okay.
6% of $100,000 is $6,000. Can you feed a family on $6,000 a year? No. I'm going to answer for you. No, you can't. So you like, even if you got a 10% margin, you're only making 10 grand a year. Like, he had a wife and 2 kids. I was his business partner. We can't split 10 grand and like buy beans. I mean, like, it's like, that's not how it works. Right. So at 250 grand, then, and we had like, 5 employees at that point. Like, we're still not making any money. I literally made no money in that business for 3 years. Okay.
So how'd you survive?
Well, my father paid. I was working for my father before I started that project.
Yeah.
And my dad was one of our investors. And part of the investment was me working there for free. So my dad still paid my paycheck, but I worked at that business.
Okay. So what happens to the rest of the money?
What?
The rest of the 94,000?
Well, labor, materials, marketing. So first, let's go back to pivoting. Okay. We lost 250 grand.
Okay.
Okay. In revenue. Okay. Now the next year we did $500,000 in revenue. So we doubled, but it wasn't powder coating. Okay. We started getting, we built this building on a road in Houston, well, just outside of Houston, that all the enthusiasts drove down in their classic cars and their motorcycles and all that stuff. So we started getting classic cars in. So I asked my dad, I was like, hey, how do you know what the Lord is blessing? Because like, I don't have any powder coating work. Like, should I double down on selling that? But I just got a bunch of cars in. And he's like, I think it's obvious. That's where the work is coming from. So do that. So we were Spectrum Powder Coatings, and we rebranded to SPC Rods and Classics. We got a new logo, everything. We changed our uniforms, and we did 500,000 that year. We did 650,000 the next year. We had 9 cars in SEMA. It was blatantly obvious that that's where our money was going to be. So we pivoted. We still did powder coating, but not as our main service. Our main service was building hot rods. We built 9 cars.
So you're making 650,000, but because of the way that you're managing your finances, because you know how, essentially you know that you can only take X amount from the business. So does that mean to you that you need to have some form of a, personal finance in order before you become an entrepreneur?
I mean, it depends on where you are in life. So, and excuse me, I don't know why I got this frog in my throat this episode, but it depends on where you are in life. Every business I ever started, I didn't have no money. Okay. So like, if you're passionate about it and you want to make it happen, like, you can do it. Like, I hear that they dropped Grant Cardone off at like some punk town and with $100 in a truck, and he turned a $5 million business in 3 months or whatever. So like, can you start with nothing? Yes. If you know what your service is going to be or what your product is going to be, like, you understand how to go network and find players and so on and so forth. Like if you really understand business, there's a lot of different ways to start with nothing. Okay. If you don't know anything at all, then you really just need something to sell. Okay. So I 100% don't recommend starting with nothing. Okay. But that's all I've ever done. So like, if you're passionate enough about what you're doing, then, like, again, never give up, fail your way to success. But if you got 3 kids to feed, I recommend feeding them. Okay.
Good idea.
Right. But to your point, how did we know when to pay ourselves from that business? Okay. So you pick a moment and you say, okay, hey, I'm going to start paying you. So we started paying my boy $500 a week. We started paying me $100 a week. And then 3 months later, we increased him to $750. We increased me to $250. Then 3 months after that, we increased him to $1,000. We increased me to $500. Okay, and so then that's what we did, and we made this little push. One thing that my dad did in our life was when he went to buy his first house, he bought a house a little bit more than what he could afford. Why? Because he believed that he was going to be able to afford it. So he believed in himself and he believed in his efforts in the future. And that little pressure of, hey, this costs this, like get your mind going and get you focused on earning that. So if you set goals that are just a little bit out of reach, you're always going to increase your abilities. Okay. And so we got to a point where my partner, who was the owner, was making, I think, $75,000 a year, and I was making $50,000 a year off of that business once we got to about 650K in revenue.
So essentially, your business is making a ton of money, but
No.
I mean, well, yes, no,
No, 650,000 is
it's
still
good for an individual, I
still
guess.
not enough. You know what I mean? Not
Yeah.
enough for two, right?
So, but I guess what I'm trying to get to is your business is making what some people would consider a lot of money that maybe don't know about business. Exhibit A, myself.
Well, 100%, right? 100%. Great point. Okay, the first $10,000 check I ever received, I was like shaking when they gave it to me. I was like, oh my God, that's so much money! Oh, I'm so excited. I spent it all the next day.
Whoa.
Yeah. We were behind on rent, which was $4,000. We had to buy materials for the car that he wanted us to get, so that was $3,000. So that's $7,000. We were behind on electricity. That was another $1,000. Okay, we had just it was literally gone the next day. Okay, so believe me when I tell you, $10,000 is nothing. Okay, and the same with $100,000. Okay, I just spent $200,000 on our mobile app. All right, and it's not done. And my expectation was 125K.
Have you always been this patient?
Maybe.
I mean, judging by the stories, right, that you've told us thus far, your first business, you had to go to. I mean, I'm sure that you've never been to California and spent that much time.
I had never
getting
been to
that money,
California
right?
at that point. Yeah.
So you had to take a risk there. Then you needed to be patient to see if the outcome would be what you expected it to be. And then when it failed, you still took the next step and, started another business anyway. And so, like, how does patience come into play there? Like, is that a virtue you've always had?
Absolutely not. I mean, I've been in a hurry most of my life. Okay. So I think patience is something that people believe that I have. And I don't know if that's like my demeanor or something, but I am absolutely trying to get there yesterday. But one thing that I have learned, because I am not where I expected to be at 45 years old, is that slow is smooth and smooth is fast. And what happens is I'm 90% strategy, 10% execution. Okay. So I'm going to spend a lot of time and effort on organization, on figuring it out, on having a plan, on setting it up, on preparing so that when I go execute, I can do it like that. Right. And that's what speeds up the process. Okay. But what happens is it's like that overnight success is 20 years in the making. So recognizing that your inflection point to get from, so I went from making 50 grand a year. Okay. So I went from making 30, let's go all the way back. I went from making like $24,000 a year to making $26,000 a year to making $30,000 a year to making $35,000 a year. And when you got 3 kids, that's like making nothing. Okay. Like the whole way up. Like, yay, I made 2 more grand. It means nothing. Okay. Christmas comes around like every year, I think. Right. So,
Yeah.
Okay. Then I eventually got up to like 50,000, still kids growing, like still like broker than broke. Okay. Then one year I went from 50,000 to 200,000 in revenue. Wow. Like, how did that happen? Like, I'd been trying to get from 30 grand to 100 grand, like dying trying to get there, like dying. Okay. And then one year, just with literally one opportunity, I went from making 50 grand to 200 grand. Didn't even expect it. It was a referral. I had a referral from one of my best friends, and it was an eye doctor that had 5 locations in Texas and was struggling and basically grew too fast and needed a financial guy to come in and help him reorganize. And that took me to that next level. So, and that's literally, I learned that's how it works.
Yeah.
Like, stay in the grind, and it's going to be nothing. And then all of a sudden it's going to feel like a lottery ticket. But if you don't have patience and you don't recognize that those are moments, because when the pandemic hit 2 years later, my phone didn't ring for 2 years.
Wow.
So 0 revenue. So from 50 to 200 to 200 to 0, the cliff comes.
So essentially, success is when preparation meets opportunity.
Yes. Yes. Somebody out there said luck is being prepared for the opportunity when it comes.
Okay. What about if you don't see an opportunity coming?
You got to create your opportunity. So again, being in the right place is about creating your opportunity, right? It's about having the skills, right? If I didn't build the powder coating hot rod shop, I would have never been able to help the eye doctor. I would not have had the skills to do that. If I didn't go to California and build that online television company, I would not have been able to build the powder coating hot rod shop. Like if I didn't learn from dad, bookkeeping, accounting, and tax, I would not be able to save people thousands of dollars in taxes, right? Like everything that you do is a stepping. Remember, what I'm doing right now is creating my tomorrow.
Yeah.
So and I didn't do this as a young man. I really had no idea. I had no idea the value in the skills that I was learning. I wanted to be a movie star, and I'm learning accounting.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. So just this is what I got to do. Great. You know what I mean? But if I would have had a different perspective and I would have given my all to that, then, and I would have learned the business side of accounting instead of dreaming about being a movie star one day, I definitely would have achieved more sooner. But I don't regret that.
So you think it was your failures that essentially refined you to get to success?
100%. I couldn't do what I do now without knowing all the hard stuff.
So you welcome failure? Would you say is that?
I'm not afraid of failure.
Okay.
I do not welcome it.
All right, that's fair. It honestly reminds me a lot of like weightlifting and like working out, right? Something that I'm super dedicated to. And a lot of people kind of see where you end up and they're like, wait, I want to get there tomorrow. But they don't see like the entirety of the journey that it takes you to get there and all of the different failures that you need to encounter to eventually refine yourself into however it is that you look at that moment. So there's like I guess a mirror to what it is to be an entrepreneur too.
That's a great lesson. Like literally everything takes time. So develop patience. I definitely encourage it. I would say that I'm patient now, right?
Okay.
And I might have felt patient along the way, but I wasn't. But I am now. And they say it's a virtue, right? But everybody's like, well, I've been patient. Have you? Have you been patient? Is that your thing? You've been patient? Well, if you say those words, I've been patient, you are the exact opposite of the definition of patient.
Yeah, you're saying I'm not patient.
You're saying I'm not. You're saying I'm not patient. Patience is waiting until it happens.
Yeah.
And then also being ready for it when it does. Because if you're anxious up to that point, and like, let's take lottery winners, for example. Are they wealthy? Most lottery winners, this is statistically proven, are worse off than before they won the lottery. They literally don't understand the value of money, what it takes to maintain the things that they want. I mean, let me ask you a question. If you have $1 million, can you afford a Rolls Royce?
I never even thought about buying one. So I would assume so.
No.
Why not?
Because it's a $500,000 car, so you're done, you're out of half of your money. It's a depreciating asset. So next year it's worth 300. The year after that it's worth 200. The year after that it's worth 100. The year after that you need a new car. You don't have any money. So no, you can't. If you've got $10 million, can you afford a $2 million house?
I'm not falling for that one again.
No, you can't. Okay. So understanding how to live your lifestyle with money like that, like if you like, so, and Mr. Wonderful will tell you like $5 million is the magic number. You put $5 million in the bank, you earn 5% annual interest on it. That's $250,000 a year. You can live on that for the rest of your life and live a decent life. Okay. But don't buy Gucci. Don't buy Rolls Royces. Don't buy Rolexes. Timex watch also tells the time. There's the time on your phone, right? Like you don't like having very expensive stuff doesn't produce happiness and is actually too expensive. You have to be a multimillionaire and you have to be continuously earning millions of dollars every year to be able to afford that stuff. And then after 9 months, it's literally trash to you. Okay. And that's a book called Happiness. So if you haven't read it, go out and read it. In 9 months, it doesn't matter what you buy. It's not worth anything to you anymore. You need something else.
So were you always frugal, or is that something?
I'm not frugal. I'm still not frugal. But I married a frugal person.
Oh,
My
okay.
wife is frugal. She saves all the money for me.
Well, that's great.
But I do understand the value of money. So I don't own a Rolex. And I won't own one until I have enough money where it doesn't matter. And even at that point, I'll still think about, do I really need this thing? Because I don't believe in just having things. But I like nice things.
So in the age of social media right now, a lot of the social media in and of itself is just a highlight reel, right? And so most people are hyper fixated on what they own and what they have and how they look. And so if you're trying to be an entrepreneur, do you essentially need to let go of all those things if you want to be successful?
Absolutely. And I think that there's a lot more evidence today too, though, if you really look. There's a lot of multimillionaires, even billionaires look what Elon Musk wears. He wears some trashy t-shirt and a fake black jacket from Macy's. You know what I mean? It's just ridiculous. There's a ton of people out there that have put out there that just spending ungodly amounts of money on stuff doesn't make you happy. It doesn't produce results. It doesn't help the community. It's not worth it, right? Okay. Are there reasons to have a private jet? There are. Do you have those reasons? Okay. You need to be flying 150 hours a year and you need to be making tens of millions of dollars a year for a private jet to make sense.
So how is that something that you can let go of for the people watching that don't necessarily, have that mindset where they want to own multiple businesses, but they do want to be successful in life, right? Because I feel like I see an attachment to things a lot of the time, at least in my generation.
Yeah, and no, but it's not just yours. It's all generations, man. We all like nice things. That's okay, but you need to have a good relationship with nice things. You need to understand that nice things tarnish, that there are certain nice things that aren't worth it, okay? You're buying a label. You're not actually buying something of value, okay? So, I want high quality stuff that enhances my life. I don't want stuff that just sits around my house. Okay. So I'm a semi-minimalist. Okay. I have too much stuff already just from Christmas. Okay. I don't my wife and I are utilitarian when it comes to Christmas. Buy me what I need. I need the new Ninja so I can make my smoothies. Right.
Okay.
Okay. I don't get you know what I mean? So, there's nothing wrong with wanting nice things. Okay. But if you're pursuing nice things as your source of happiness or your source of I'm good enough or your source of I made it, okay, you're never going to make it. There's a study out there that shows that the top 1% are some of the most unhappy people in the world, okay? And the reason why is because the void is so big. They go to the club and their best friend walks in and is like, oh, I just bought a new yacht. And they're like, what? Yeah, it's a I don't know, 100-footer or whatever, well, my yacht's only 80-footer. Well, I'm not, he's more successful than me. I got to go get a 120-foot yacht now. Their whole psyche is based around what they have and it being better than other people. That's not the thing. Okay. That's not the thing. Success is about fulfillment. It's about being the best you can be. And
is that how you define it?
That's how I define it. Are you fulfilled? Do you wake up every day here,
Okay. It's interesting. I feel like maybe your faith plays a part into that as well.
100%. 100%. And let's talk about that more in the next episode.
Absolutely.
Let's leave them with a tip. Okay, so today's tip is get over it. it's holding you back, let it go. When you let it go, you will have peace, freedom, and the ability to make it happen. Thanks so much for joining us.
You heard it here first, folks. Like and subscribe. See you next time.